Angela Merkel, Germany's Chancellor, is facing a parliamentary election on September 22nd. While the coalition scenarios are complicated, everything suggests that the Germans may just give her another 4 years in power. Clearly, Germans like her. They even call her Mutti, or Mum. But other Europeans have a wildly different view. To them, she's a European overlord cracking the whip of budgetary discipline over other countries in the euro crisis. They ascribe to her more power than any other leader in the EU, seeing her as unbendingly ideological and committed to a policy of austerity. Back home, things couldn't be more different. The first surprise is that the euro crisis that dominates the headlines in other European countries is not one of the big topics in the German campaign. This in a country that has the lowest youth unemployment in Europe after 5 years of international financial crises. That's in part because all the mainstream parties in the German parliament voted together on all the bailouts that have been agreed so far, so there are no clear battle lines over the issue. It's also because German politics are remarkably provincial. Rather than a focus on Syria or the euro, the leading issues on the campaign trail include freeway tolls, childcare, vegetarian catering in canteens, and reforming public pensions, the minimum wage, and rents. But it's also partly because Mrs. Merkel likes it that way. She keeps politics small, both in the sense that she takes the smallest and slowest steps possible, in the euro crisis for example, and in that she lulls and sedates voters with her peculiar style of public speaking.
Schöne Party, herzlichen Dank, alles Gute.
Americans would call it an "oh shucks" style. Simple phrases, a soothing tone, unthreatening hand gestures. Her style has become so distinctive that her main challenger in the election, the Social Democrat Per Steinbrück, publicly mocks her for it.
Ich kann auch so reden, habe gar keine Schwierigkeiten. Mein Lieblingssatz lautet: Eine gute Grundlage ist die beste Voraussetzung für eine solide Basis, meine Damen und Herren. Da kann kein Kommentator ein Haar in der Suppe finden.
It brings down the house every time, because it really sounds like Mrs. Merkel. She often talks without really saying anything. But while Mr. Steinbrück can make German voters laugh at Mutti, he can't seem to make them vote against her. And that, perhaps, is Mrs. Merkel's political genius. She understands that at a time of crisis across Germany, Germans don't want grand visions or cutting irony. They want to be reassured. They want a mother. They want Mrs. Merkel. So at home, by contrast with her agenda in the EU, Mrs. Merkel has pursued hardly any big ideas at all. Except one. In a sharp U-turn from her party's previous energy policy, in 2010 she moved away from nuclear power in the wake of the Fukushima disaster. The Green Party, in opposition, had wanted to ditch nuclear power for 30 years. Then, from nowhere, Mrs. Merkel turned on a dime and adopted the position of her opposition. It's a trick she's pulled again and again, neutering the opposition by co-opting a policy which is the cornerstone of their campaign. It drives her opponents mad, but German voters love her for it, perhaps because she always finds the right way and the right time to present her reforms to them. Slow and steady wins the race. Prussian taskmaster to others, caring and flexible Mutti to the Germans. Ideological abroad, but with few firm convictions at home. That is the enigma of Angela Merkel, and a key part of her success. Love her or loathe her, the Germans, the Irish, the Greeks and the rest are likely to have to live with her for at least 4 more years.